So let's kick off. So welcome Imran, welcome Gomti. It's a privilege to have both of you with us. Thank you. Rethink is our initiative to talk about advancements in admission strategy and marketing to the education audience across India. And it's great to have both of you. So what we should do is that we should do a very quick round of introduction. So I'll introduce myself. So my name is Abhishek. I run a company called Extra Edge based out of Pune, and we help education admission teams win via our admission and marketing software stack that we have. Work with around 175 odd institutes across India. Been there for 4 years and working every day to make admission teams win. So that's me. So Komini ma'am, over to you.
So I'm Gomati. I'm running an organization called Aha Guru Education Technology, which is in Chennai. And our organization is 8 years old. And my role is particularly like marketing branding. So that's what I've been doing like these years.
Yeah. Great. So, Aha Guru is a known brand. So thank you, ma'am. So Imran, very quickly.
Hi, my name is Imran Kapadia, and I work with a group of schools. Most famous of them, which was established in 2013, is called the Indian School of Design and Innovation, popularly known as ISD. It was in association with so I've been there in the last 8 years now, and in the capacity of everything related to digital technology, marketing, automation, all comes under my portfolio. So that is what I do, and been fortunate to be in the marketing domain for almost half of my life. So it's been close to about 15, 18 years that I've been in this domain, various industries, but for the last 8 years in the education. Thank you, Abhishek, for this lovely afternoon and inviting me. And Gomti, thank you for being on the panel now.
Yeah. Great. So, I have Nikhil. Nikhil, is a part of our marketing team. He's the guy who sends you emailers and you see his name. So, Nikhil, good to have you too here. So, I think for all in the audience, thank you guys. I think more people are attending. So, few cadence before we start. Use Q&A to ask your questions. Use chat to introduce yourself very quickly. And before I kick off and talk about conversational tools, WhatsApp, chatbot, and things, I'll quickly launch a poll. Quickly take that poll so that we get a pulse of the audience here, right? So just let me quickly launch the poll. Okay, so I will also allow. So I'm launching a poll for all of you. It will flash on your screen. So if you could quickly, take your quick time to answer this poll. So we will get a sense of, who the audience is, and so that we could structure this conversation in that direction. Guys. So quickly, if you could, answer this poll. So the poll will be flashed in front of you. Just quickly answer that poll. Nikhil, are you able to see the poll?
Yeah, Abhishek, it's visible.
Okay, guys. So just quickly, you can answer the poll, so we are aware that who you are, what we are talking about, so that we could structure the conversation very, very quickly. So as people answer the poll, guys, let's kick this off. So I think the title of the conversation today is WhatsApp chatbot, or moreover, the conversational tools for new age admission teams, right? So let me start by asking Imran that, Imran, we are in 2020. Now, how has communication with the millennials changed from 2010? You have been associated in the industry for 8 to 10 years. So the first question is that, what has been the change? What are you seeing in that millennial audience of 18 to 25, which warrants a new change in shift in communicating with them using mediums that we are going to talk today? So what change are you seeing?
A lot has changed in the last 8-10 years that I have personally been involved in dealing with the millennials, or the target audience that we talk to. There has been a lot of change. In 2013, when we started the school, it was very different, because we were actually trying to talk to the students. But ideally, what was happening is that in the process of talking to the students, we were actually trying to convince the parents. Because the speech was for the student, but the audible sound was actually hitting straight into the parents' ear, because the decision making at that point of time was still in the hand of the parent. In the last 2-3 years, and I'm not saying in the last 10 years, but in the last 2-3 years, what has happened is that what we have seen is that parents obviously play a very important role in decision making, but they are limited to that party, because only thing why they get involved is because there is a thing that they have to write towards the institution. The entire research, the entire background check, reference check, or if you ask peer-to-peer networking, what's happening, who's going where, what is exciting, which happens is good, what faculty is good, what program has what value, what is the industry looking at, where the jobs coming from. All this research is actually done by the students themselves. They are very smart. They're more smarter than what they were back then.
Mhm.
And right now, we have all those teams, and I don't know whether this is because we are in Bombay, or is it only because it's a metro or a financial capital? But there are some students who actually don't even depend on parents for that piece of decision making, which is financial. So it is completely targeted towards the millennial. Where they come, they understand, they know what you're trying to sell to them, they know what you're trying to talk to them. If they're convinced, then that is it. Otherwise, parents have a very limited role right now because of course, it is important because we are taking students only at 17, 18 year old, so there is a consent that is required. But all the background check that was being done by parents back then is now done. I'm getting some message about my voice, so I'm
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
just
It
switch over
seems
to
once a while your voice is breaking.
now. Is that better now?
Yeah, yeah, much better. Yes.
Oh, so that is where we see the change. So 2013 we were talking to parents.
Yeah.
2019 season. I'm saying 2020 intake, right? Because 2020 intake is we've just wrapped more or less kind of at the end of last mile of the season. So this year, what has happened is more and more convincing actually has gone towards the student himself, and parents are only playing along with what the
Wow.
student is like.
Okay. 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 So, you deal with people who are applying for design programs. So, both male and female audience. So, Gopti ma'am, you deal with people who are about to join a program. So, just before that, right? People who are preparing for entrance, primarily, engineering and medical entrance. So, here, what change do you see in how parents or students in that age group communicate to you? Because it will be very interesting to know for people in the audience, because these students become basically an input for their admissions. So their behavior is very important as to understand. So in your edtech space, what changes have you seen in conversation which you had previously and now?
With respect to the decision, right, it is mostly parents then and also now. Basically, they'll do the final decision. So sometimes there are, like, I have had cases where the student want to join us, but the parent would decide not in favor of them. So it's finally, in terms of decision making, it's parents' decision. But definitely, parents are now well aware of, like, what each coaching class is or what is available, and also in terms of availability, right, the kind of resources that are available now and about 10 years before, there's a huge difference. There were like only few coaching classes. Now, like, every street, we have like a lot of coaching classes coming up, and particularly after the introduction of medical examination, there are a lot of new coaching classes which have actually like started, and particularly in Tamil Nadu, in rural places, there are many coaching classes which have started after the launch of the medical examination. So parents are actually aware, and they also validate the quality, etc., and they look at what, so they have very, very clear, I mean, detailed knowledge about which coaching class they should join and why they should join, what is good in that particular thing, and they can give you the competitive analysis very easily, because people come to us and talk to us and say, like, you are very good at this, but I am joining for the test, this thing alone for this particular place. So they give you like so much detailed information, and I think the resources have actually like has been opened so much, so parents are able to choose between different coaching classes, so which becomes a problem for coaching industry, like coaching classes or institute, because we have to be very unique, and we have to provide good quality, otherwise children are not going to actually come, particularly in education sector. It is not like my friend is going, so I also want to go to that coaching class. See, that is still there when you're in younger classes, like 7, 8, 9 standard, 10 standard. But when you come to 11 and 12, the parent will say, okay, no matter what, whether your friend is going or not, if this institute is the one which I think is best, they will actually put them. So that kind of thing is still there in a coaching industry. That's network effect like that we see in Facebook, WhatsApp, or whatever, right? That kind of network effect will not happen in education industry because the parents will always want the best to their children.
Great, great. So, so I gather that in your case, Imran, the students are more taking the decision for the UG programs. That's what I gather. And Gopti ma'am, in your case, I gather that still parents have a strong hold as far as edtech or decision in test prep is concerned, right? So,
Abhishek, there's a I think the primary reason why there is your first question has a little bit of two sides to the answer is also because I think our programs are a little more I wouldn't say new, but I would say a little more skill oriented. Whereas the traditional programs still have a lot more buy-in from parents because parents are more educated about those programs also. See, medical engineering, these are programs that have been around for a very long time. There are a lot of parents who've gone through this process of doing this stuff before. The students who are actually coming for these new programs, and I'm talking about new programs which I'm talking about design education, or even for the matter of fact film education which we provide, or entrepreneurship studies that we're providing, or digital media that we're providing. Not a lot of parents have actually studied these. The life cycle of this is very new. So maybe it's a skip of a generation that is actually leading to that decision also.
absolutely. So, we'll quickly touch on, the important or the popular aspect very quickly that post-COVID, physical interaction was not possible with the kids. Like they could walk on to Lower Parel and go to an ISD, or they could walk out to Chennai and meet Ahaguru, right? So very quickly talk about maybe a couple of minutes each that what were the communication mediums or conversation processes after COVID, which worked for you because physical conversation was no longer possible to meet people. So what worked? What were the challenges? Quickly, couple of minutes, Gomti, you can start. What worked after COVID, immediately for you?
Yeah, actually, Ahaguru introduced the online program like 3 years before itself. So we were actually ready in that sense. We were online ready. So we just converted our direct classroom program students to live online because we have been running live online classes also. So for the past 2.5 years. Okay. But what really worked in terms of marketing, we had actually we were facing a lot of challenges because we had to reach. See, the one way of communication was through schools. So we go and distribute brochures and pamphlets in schools, and that actually took a big hit. So we had to find out new ways of like reaching to parents and reaching to students. So one of the things that we were doing is particularly during the COVID, a lot of advertisements in the paper, actually people were not ready to put up advertisements, so we got the cost to be very, very low. In fact, we grabbed that opportunity and we started advertising in the newspapers because the cost was really like almost it was like 1/3. I mean, like where it was like 1 lakh, they were ready to give it at 20K. Okay, so that was the level of difference. And also, you could stand out because there are not many advertisement that would come in the newspaper. So we actually we used that opportunity to promote Ahaguru. And the other thing that we did is also because like we had chatbot and the WhatsApp also in place. I think we were ready before the COVID. So I won't say that it took us a surprise for us to handle. So we were ready in many forms. So when it came, actually we used those opportunity to actually get a lot more conversions to it.
Yeah. So what you're saying, Gopti, is that in your case, you were already ready digitally to deliver those content online. A, B, you already had a live chat component on your website and landing pages, and you also had a WhatsApp interface for students to talk to you at scale. So all these three were already in place.
In place, yeah.
And you were extremely lucky then, I would say.
Yeah.
Other people, right? So for a lot of people in the audience, I think a lot of you would be thinking about it and kind of what we call as fence sitting and thinking that whether we should have it in what quantity we should use WhatsApp, when we should use live chat or a bot or a call, how that works with my outbound calling function. So we'll try to touch that. So Imran, to you, when organizations are running an outbound calling function, which is a very important aspect to it, right? So new age communication mediums, we know about WhatsApp and we know about bot chat and things like that. Live chat has been for 15 years now. So my thing, what worked for you? What experiments did you run? What worked for you? What did not work for you? What were the lessons learned for IST?
So, Abhishek, we as an organization were always, we always believed in personal interaction, because we always thought that till the time you don't know your student, till the time you don't know the student's parents, till the time you don't know a little bit about the background of the family where they're coming from, because see, it's an investment not only of money but also of 4 important years, right, of the student that the student is making and the family is deciding to put the student in, because in the next 4 years the student is actually giving up a lot on social life, family life, because it is not easy, right? Education at this point of time is very competitive. So we always believed in a lot of personal interaction, a lot of personal touch, meeting people, interacting with people. We've gone multi cities, met people. Our teams have traveled across the country and gone into different countries to meet people, to understand what prospects are wanting from us, what is it that they are expecting from us. Everything that we were doing, counseling, was a lot physical. It was more interactive, face to face. Because as a USP, what made us different was our presence of the campus. So we would always invite a lot of parents to the campus to show them our infrastructure, to show them the kind of studies that are happening here, to show them the kind of setup that we had. Suddenly, what happened in March is that all our interaction and all the things that we actually readied ourselves for the last 6 years, we had to find a new channel. Luckily, and you've been part of the journey. Luckily, we had our infrastructure ready to go digital, to communicate, irrelevant of having a physical presence or no. We were still ready, and thank you thank you and your team, Daksh, especially for putting us in that space. But it wasn't more about convincing the audience who was our target audience. It was more about conditioning of our own mindset. So what it did, this was more of a reality check, that we got a reality check that there is an alternate to convince people. There is an alternate to to tell people what facts are. There is an alternate to show people what things are. It just has given us a reality check. It's a sweet check. There's no doubt about it. But also, what it has done is it has given in terms of productivity. I feel that in the last 4 months, what we've achieved, we wouldn't have achieved even in a full season of admission. So our season is usually 8-9 months.
Yeah.
What we achieved in the last 4 months is actually completely equal to what we would have achieved in season 18-19, for example. Productivity has gone up. People are traveling less. People are working more in that travel time, because Bombay also travel time takes close to about 1.5 hours, right? For traveling from wherever to wherever, even if you're traveling by train, car, bus, or whatever mode of transport, your traffic, crowd, frequency of availability of transport, that that hour which was actually spent on the road by people, and then the frustration, because you're actually brushing shoulders with people. What has happened is people are more happier. People are spending more time at work. There is no 8-hour concept anymore. So there is no click, log in and log out 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. or something. People are working as per availability. So if there is a call which is at 10 o'clock in the night and the father has actually just come home from wherever, we're actually available, because it is just given a different dimension to work and to tell people what you do. I think it's a good one, because we've fast forwarded everything by about 5 years now in the last 4 months.
Right. So I think one question that warrants here, Imran, that you had live chat, you had chat bots, and your website was equipped with these tools even pre-COVID, right?
Yes.
And what I gather from both of you, that readiness of having these conversational tools in place for that millennial audience really was one of the, I won't say competitive advantage, but the advantage in this kind of black swan event that we witnessed. This is what I gather from both of you, right?
Yeah.
It is, Abhishek, because what happens is that today the patience of a customer is very little. If for example, the first thing that he will come is he's gonna look you up at, he's not gonna type your URL, right? Even if he knows that URL is only four alphabet long. So mine is actually isdi.in. It's only 4 alphabets. He's not typing the .in. He's actually only typing ISDI. Yeah. It's important for me to be present on Google search.
Right.
By the medium of a paid media, because I should be there on the search ad. It is important for me to be present on the organic media, so that my SEO content is ready. It is important for me to be on the business account, so that he can hit a call button. The moment he comes to my website, it is important for him to have information, but it's important for me to have a live chat bot over there, sitting there, so he can say, hi, what's up, what are you doing, what are you looking for.
whether automated or manual, but if you're not there in that moment, you've lost the customer immediately.
Absolutely.
So the mind space is very important, and it's more of a roadblock that you want to create, so that you're completely there when your customer is there with you.
Yeah, I really love the way you say that alternate way of telling that truth and facts. I think that's a very beautiful way of putting the value proposition for an institute out. So for the people who have joined in, please use the Q&A button to put your questions. Generally, we use the questions on chat. Some of you are asking questions on chat. Use chat to introduce yourself. Use Q&A to talk about the questions that you have, which we'll take. So guys, what I was reading is that this year 400 million WhatsApp messages were sent in India. And surprisingly, the 49% of those messages were sent by age group of 18 to 25. So basically, we are talking about 200 million messages interchanged between the that demographic of 18 to 25. So talk about the role of WhatsApp into your overall strategy. And when I talk about WhatsApp, there are two things. There is one-on-one WhatsApp that we do on a regular, which nobody is stopping from anybody from doing it. And the second is basically the organizational WhatsApp business, which is connected to a bot. Gomti, you can talk about it, that which you have implemented. But I just want to talk about WhatsApp, with you, Imran, that how WhatsApp has been as a medium to communicate with these people. Is it just qualification, or is it also fulfillment of conversions there? What's happening?
I would say, I would, if you would ask me, Abhishek, that which is my most important channel of communication today, I would say WhatsApp.
Great.
And I would actually put all parameters, and I would give a 10 on 10 on every parameter, whether it is qualification, whether it is conversion, whether it is announcement, whether it is general conversation. I think everybody in India, and also the beauty of the platform, right? Ad free, no nonsense platform. I think it's just become the first interaction with a customer. See, emails will obviously happen because it's because we as institutes will have to communicate formally, right? And WhatsApp is not yet formal. It's not a formalized way of communication, but it breaks every other alternate formality, and it does the trick. It has actually done for me. If you ask me, informative WhatsApps, they've worked. Communicative WhatsApps, they've worked. Conversion WhatsApps, they've worked. Transactional WhatsApp, they've worked. Till now, I don't know, and I can't actually tell you which form of WhatsApp hasn't worked. And I know that text message, such a beautiful interface, is now dying. The only reason why text message right now is surviving is because maybe OTPs are coming on text messages, right? Because I don't know why else anybody is using text messages. I only use it for OTPs. Otherwise, I don't even know what is coming on my text message. But the moment there's a beep on the phone of a WhatsApp message, it becomes as serious as in 2000s when BlackBerry used to beep and there used to be an email. So I think that's where the transition has happened.
Absolutely.
Every parent is on WhatsApp. Every student is on WhatsApp, and the beauty of this is that stuff that actually went viral 5 years back on social media is going viral on WhatsApp today. So I think it's a very important channel. We use it very frequently. We love that channel. We still you can, I don't know, I shouldn't be telling you this, but you're yourself a tech company, but it's very difficult to catch up and be in sync with technology, right? Because technology changes its pace before you can even adapt to the pace. Right. So we are actually playing a catch up game with technology, but we are very happy to play that game because in the process, we are also not just catching up, but we're also learning a lot. In the process, we are trying to teach a lot as well. So, it's important as educators to keep learning so that you can keep teaching also.
No, absolutely. Mr. Clayton Christensen has said that in competition, you need to compete with yourself every year. So you need to keep on disrupting yourself every year rather than a competition coming up.
True.
So Gomti, you have taken it to the next level, right? So we are not even talking about WhatsApp one-on-one. We are talking about WhatsApp bots. So you probably in Indian edtech scene, you were probably one of the few first people who implemented a complete WhatsApp bot where people are answering questions in an automated voice and things. And I know because you're connected with XRAS too, right? So talk about that, building a WhatsApp and a bot and the whole framework on that, right? What it took, how the recipe process took, and what value did you see in terms of conversions? I would want to understand, right? Because,
Yeah, sure. I actually want to, before talking about specifically about WhatsApp bot, when it comes to bot itself, right? So before even like having an idea of like doing a bot, we were doing a lot of research and trying to understand what are the questions that the parents are actually coming with, and so initially it's all done manually so that we know what are the key parameters that parents are looking at, because there is a need for a human interaction. So what we did is was like there are few questions, like 4 to 5 questions, and after that we immediately ask the parent whether they want to connect to a counselor, because there are parents who just want to talk to a human being and not talk to a chatbot, right? Not respond to a chatbot. And we are very open about also using a chatbot. So for particularly like we say it's a AHA chatbot, and I have seen many places where they won't mention it's a chatbot, but they'll they will have, I mean, people will assume that it is not a chatbot and it's a human being, but you at the back end you know that it is a chatbot. So we actually tell parents that it's a chatbot, but if you want to interact with the person, just click on here, you will talk to a person. So there are parents who just don't want to talk, and so that was actually used very effectively.
Right.
The second one with the WhatsApp chatbot was, there are actually a lot of advantages, as Imran was saying, transactional messages, all those things, but when it comes to marketing, and when particularly you're integrating with your API, right? There is an API integration. You also receive lot of junk messages, and we cannot block a customer. I mean, you cannot block them. So that we need to be very careful. And I don't know, and we have actually escalated this, like saying there are a lot of junk messages that are coming inside the chatbot, so which we don't want to actually like and some are very like abusive thing also. So you should be ready and aware. Initially we didn't think like that could happen, but then we are trying to work on it. But when it is coming to actually basically converting the customer, we have to be very very immediate. So you need to have one person sitting and chatting all the time, because if when the customer wants to connect to a person, they should be available.
Absolutely.
Otherwise they think it's not very cool. And one of the other advantages that we are seeing with the chatbot is, if you're hiring people, right, if they are chatting, their language has to be really good. If they make mistakes, they're going to think that this organization have people who are not very qualified. So
Right.
with the chatbot, what happens is you can actually have messages which are well written, and it gives lot of meaning. And when you talk to a person, you don't expect so much of it, they can actually communicate. So when it comes to written communication, particularly in India, people expect that the communication should be very good, in very good language. So I think chatbot helped us overcome that barrier, because when we are having people, I mean, we can't assure like all of them will communicate in using a very effective way of communication.
Sure,
That's it.
sure. No, I really agree with you, because in the banking and financial industry from where I come from, right, the idea was that you qualify a customer who's giving a call to an extent where further you can't qualify him. Then you put him to a person, and that used to wonderfully beautifully work, because then you have answered a lot of questions and removed the naysayers and brought in the real subjective question to a human being, right? And in banks we used to optimize to do that at phone and IVR and all those things at call center. So Imran, my question to you is that bots handsomely work, qualify the prospect, and connect it to a live chat, and when a person talks to them, right? So is this kind of metamorphosis of bot qualification and human chatting with them, is it better than a human chatting with them, or is it as because it's ubiquitous, you can do 24/7 and things like that? So the combination of bot and live chat are human. Talk about a bit, because I think you have already implemented that, right? So what about that?
So, Abhishek, whatever said and done, how much our technology will grow, and how much ever it will enhance itself, it will never be able to replace human being, right? That is why I think Jack Ma in his famous speech has said, do things that robots can't be doing.
Yeah.
So learn performing arts, learn a creative skill, or do things that the bots will not be able to do, because they're going to take over, right? Our best friends are going to be robots
Right.
in the future. Something that my counselor can do,
Mhm.
it saves the counselor's time in identifying what is the ideal situation to come in, and what is the pain point to answer. It saves that much more time. That means in that much time,
she or he could have actually solved somebody else's case and come back to her till the time so it acts more like a holding plate, more of a proof check, whether to spend time with this guy, to not to spend time with this guy. If you need to spend time, what is it that you want to, but this whole blended, the beauty of this blending, bot plus taking over by human, I think that is where the game is won.
Yeah.
Either one, if you depend organization, that will depend. And I'm it's with a very heavy heart, actually, you have to say this, because because bots also take over a person's job, right? Because this was something that a person would be doing. That means somebody is coming in with a lot of emotions. Here there are no emotions, it's an algorithm. So when you replace emotions with algorithm, I don't think algorithm can take you to the end, but an emotional face or a person has to come in between. Case closing, that end, putting an end to a case has to be done by a human being.
Absolutely.
Even if it is possible, there might be players, there might be industries, there might be companies who might be doing it. Even if it is possible, I think we as an organization, especially dealing with 16, 17-year-old kids and parents who are actually putting the career of a child on the line, we would want a human being to close the case. Because it's a lot of responsibility. It's not something that you have to be attached to it. If you're not attached to it, it's your baby, right? Every one admission is like your own child.
Correct.
So if you're not attached to that case, if you don't know that case, then I don't think you're suitable. Because but you can't you have only 24 hours, right, in a day. There cannot be a 25th hour. In the 24 hours, you want to sleep for 8 hours, because that's when you can come back fresh. So you've already discounted some hours of the day. If some more hours of the day can be replaced by somebody who can actually work smarter than you,
right,
without a coffee break, without a bathroom break, without any other distraction, then why not? I think the blended way of going is the best way of going. We love the blended way. We still will not be very comfortable going all out and only using a bot to close cases. I don't think in the education in this sphere it is also possible, because parents want to speak to a person.
Right.
They want to know who it is.
You bring a very interesting point. So, I think it's like a Turing test. When the question is that, where is the address of ISD? That could be definitely answered by a bot. But is design a great career choice for me? Or should I prepare for engineering as a career? So it's a subjective question which a human can answer. But how do I reach to Aha Guru? What's the address? What's the fees? What's the program? What's the course? These are very banal questions that can be really answered, and those comprise of more I would say transactional questions, which can be always answered by a bot, right? In qualification, right? So moving on to our next segue, where we cover the very important point, Gomti, about recipe. So when you're building a bot or you're thinking about a WhatsApp, right? So you're thinking about what are those potential questions which can be automated, and we work with more than around 40 odd brands who use bot platforms that we offer. The most troubling part that we see people struggle with is building those recipe or workflows. What's that? And I think the recipe is what we talk internally in the company, is that how does a perfect counselor speak for those transactional questions and answering them to bring him to a point where the student asks a subjective question like, is design a good career or not? And a lot of times it also allows you to reduce the junk or spam by doing OTT verification and things like that, right? So talk about the process of building that qualification recipe, which will lead to operational efficiency, because a lot of questions are already answered. So talk about that journey.
See, we can never come up in ideal recipe in the first go. First, we need to understand. Okay, so we should be okay with doing something what we think is about 50% to 60% correct. So as I told you, by 2 years and 3 years observing what the audience are asking you, the basic questions, like for example, some of the things that we automated was which class the child is like planning to join, which subject the child is interested in, and their name, email ID, and phone number. In fact, we have not done the OTP, because most of the time the parents feel that if they don't want to give the right number, let them have the right to not give the right number. It's okay. I mean, anyway, then they won't be your lead at all. Okay, but what happens is, if you have this OTP addition there, right, it puts off many people and they won't even give you their phone numbers and this thing. So we have taken a conscious decision
organization that we will not have basically OTP verification in our chatbot. Same way, even in our phone telesales thing, we have not included the IVR system, because the moment it is IVR, right, people, it puts off people just want to have like call and talk to a person. So these are some of the conscious decision that we have taken, I think, and many parents also appreciated that. So I think coming to the recipe part, we have to do back and forth. We have to I think like what we have done is like we thought it is almost ready and we test it out. See, everything is like an experiment. You have to take it as an experiment and try it and do it. So if people takes too much time, then we go back, take a look at it and say, okay, discard these questions and add these questions. So we have to keep modifying it to become very good, I mean, to make a very good recipe out of it, because you can become a very good chef by just doing again and again and again, right? So the same thing applies everywhere. Yeah.
Quick follow-up. So has your contact to walk-in or contact to conversion ratios improved after bringing in WhatsApp or maybe a chat bot? So is your conversion funnel improving after you're seeing that?
Yes, usually our funnel, definitely it is improving. It is about like I could see about 20 to 25% improvement. Okay, there are still lot more scope for improvement, so we should never settle for 20-25%, but I
Right.
think there is lot more scope for improvement. So I wouldn't say that the whatever we have right now is the ideal one. I think like we need to work again more with the parents to see where the drop is again, and like why they are dropping, and we need to test it out and keep improving stuff. So
Right. So Imran, we were talking earlier that, different brands have different value proposition, and
Yeah.
thereby the need of different automation. So for people here who are offering multiple brands or multiple courses, right, the recipe becomes a very important process. So talk about a couple of things. Your journey of, advising a brand to build the recipe of qualification, not overdoing it and also not underdoing it to miss the basic qualification and burdening the counselor for that. So talk about that, and talk about that the ubiquity of it, that it could be 24/7 live and students and parents can come anytime, right? And it's mobile first. How that has impacted like a live chat where you're only available 8 to 8, right? So these two things, quickly talk about your
So
observation.
Abhishek, I will talk from, because in the audience we have a lot of people from from the admissions marketing segment, and
Yeah.
this is what is important for all of you listening out there. You know, play with technology and use technology only as much as you understand yourself. So the moment you try to because the game is very different. If you try to complicate things out there, you are never gonna get till the time you don't understand. Stop where you stop understanding. That is very important. So so if you already have an FAQs written on your website or on your on in any form, first thing what you do is just fill basics into the bot.
Right.
Let's not complicate things, because the bot is not here to take over a job. The bot is here to simplify somebody's job. So so only use it as much as you understand, or as much as your team can understand. If your team is not going to buy into this idea, then you've lost the game on day one. And believe me, me who's actually been involved in deploying all these systems, I have faced so much flack by the team, because from my understanding, what I feel is simple. The guy who's actually counseling the student, or the girl who's actually selling a program, or converting a student into a walk-in to a application, paid or whatever stage, whatever different stages you might have, you have to go down to that level and figure that technology actually works for her and not for you.
Perfect.
Because if they cannot use it, then you're not the one who's using it, right? Because I'm not the one who's using any of these technologies. I'm only deploying technologies which make it easy for my team to work. If my team cannot work with it, then it's a waste of my time, it's a waste of my money, and it's a waste of everybody's collective time and resource. So first thing is that use it only as much as your team can understand, and then upgrade as in when you want. The moment you go top down, you've lost the game. I would say go step by step, build over each step. Give it enough time for people to learn, give enough time for people to experience. Let people come and ask you for advances. Let people come and tell you that, what, this system works brilliantly, can we do this now?
Absolutely.
Believe me, the day they say, can we do this, you are already ready with that, can we do this? You just have to tell them, it is possible, we will do it, let's try it, let's deploy it. You say whether it works, and let them be the decision maker in this. That is when you win the game. Second question, Abhishek, what you asked me about 24/7 live, what is happening now is and this is not now, actually it is only coming into everybody's face right now. But this 24/7 scenario has been working throughout since generations and generations, if you see. And we as a country have been placed at such a strategic place on the globe that
Right.
we are the ones, India and Indians are the ones who make this 24/7 happen. There is
Correct.
no other country which can make it happen, because we actually sit between day and night of different countries. We are
Correct.
actually in that 12-hour mark where somebody is sleeping and we are awake. And again, when we are sleeping, somebody else is awake.
Correct.
That 24/7 is happening because of us. If we cannot do it for ourselves, we should not be doing it for anybody else. So I honestly, I don't want to talk about myself, but my team actually is answering live calls, chats, everything till about 10, 11 o'clock in the night. Also, there is a dull when that happens from the parents' point of view, and then there is a high that happens from the student point of view. When parents go to sleep, the students come up awake, right? So it's a different day and night happening in the country also. What we are thinking and what we are also trying to do is, see, it's difficult to have shifts working within an organization from people from the same city. It's very difficult because you cannot actually do that, and it's not fair also. That even on the infrastructure, it's not fair to load so much on the infrastructure. Because you got to be conscious about the environment also. What we're trying to do is we're trying to find freelance resources who we can train. And now it's remote working, right? Everybody's working remotely, whether I'm in Bombay or I'm wherever else I am. As far as I'm sold to the concept of what I'm trying to do over here, I'm happy. So we're trying to find people who are available in remote locations, who can work as per their working hours when it is sleeping hours for us also.
Right.
So that is something that we're exploring, so that we can always go into this 24/7, because that 11 p.m. till about 2 a.m. has suddenly become a peak hour.
Yeah.
All the kids, believe me, all the kids who we are talking to are most active during that hour. They might be playing PUBG, they might be playing Fortnite, they might be doing something else, they might be Netflixing, watching something on Netflix. But that has become the peak hour. It's no longer the 9 to 6 peak hour. It's the 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. is where the peak hour is. And you won't believe, I still get inquiries, and you obviously have you have an insight to it. You will see it, that the download brochure emails that come to my inbox between 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. are more than what they come between 5 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Oh, I think that's a great insight. And I think there are 3 nuggets of wisdom there for the audience. I would like to reiterate it. So, what works conventionally may not work for you. So putting an IVR might be a good strategy, intuitive, but counterintuitively, as Gomti said, that it might not be a human strategy to it. So very important aspect she mentioned, that what other people are doing ubiquitously may not be right for you, because that will become differentiation. And so that's the first point, that bringing more human to it. I think second point is, if you implement any kind of this conversational technology in an organization, there needs to be an organizational decision makers buy-in, right? And the people in the organization who are driving it, they needs to be bought into the thought, and that will percolate down. And third, what I heard from Imran is that by building bots and by building WhatsApp and these kind of tools, you let your counselor and your admission teams become operationally light on occasions, which allows them to have some kind of a balance where they can talk more on subjective conversation with the students. So these are the 3 nuggets of wisdom that I got from the last 2 or 3 answers. Very, very important and very counterintuitive at times, right? So quickly, we are coming to our 45-minute journey. So I'll go back to Gomti, to you, right? So Gomti, people who are sitting at the fence, still thinking about, okay, I know live chat, I can put a chat. Should I put a WhatsApp or chat bot, and figuring out their website, how it will look on my mobile phone and things like that? Can I route somebody from Google AdWords or from an FB ad directly to a chatbot? I mean, that also possible. That could be done, right? So people who are sitting on the fence thinking about should we adopt and not, what would be your 2 cents for them? What would you advise them? Because you have been so kind of prepared for it even pre-COVID, right? So what would be your advice to them? How to go about it?
Yeah. So if it also depends on the number of visitors in your website or in your landing pages. Okay. If you are only getting about 100 people, I would say like forget about installing any chatbot or any. I mean, whether it is a WhatsApp this thing or anything. But if it goes beyond like something like 3,000 to 5,000, then there is a chance of about 50 to 100 people who will actually interact and like who will want to know something more about and who will opt for the chatbot. So it depends on number of people who are visiting your like how many people you are reaching and how many people you are expecting to land on your landing pages like you are promoting. So depending on that volume, I would recommend the first decision is whether to go chatbot or not. Like for if I had to give you some example, if 5,000 people land today, I mean out of that let's say only 3,000 are new visitors, out of that only 50 to 60 will actually start anything like a chat. The other people are not even going to chat anything, I mean they're not going to use the chatbot. So if there are 60 people, the advantage of having a chatbot is even if your counselor, if you have your counselor like on leave or something, you can still catch the lead, you can take the lead in, and then later you can actually talk to them and convert. So that is the advantage that we have, because we are capturing that person at that moment when they are interested. So maybe we were not able to answer everything that they're asking, but at least you know and you capture them their details, so you can actually get back to them. So so unless you have enough traffic in the site, I won't recommend that you should actually do a chatbot.
Yeah, I think it's like a Zig Ziglar quote, right? The first time to response is the most important thing in sales, right? How the first touch point is happening. So for people in the audience, right, I think most of you will see that if you're not digitally driven today, then probably there is a chance of becoming obsolete in the first place, because that's what the
Yes,
times are getting.
I don't think there's a chance. There's you already
You're
become.
already obsolete.
You're already obsolete. There is no chance that you will become obsolete. You're already obsolete. If you don't realize this today, you'll realize this tomorrow morning.
Right, right, right. So, before I move to Imran, so for people in the audience, I think she made a very interesting point that having a conversational bot platform or a WhatsApp or an API platform, whatever it is, right? It's very important to have a prerequisite of a website where traffic is coming. So, getting your website in order, mobile friendly, having some Google AdWords basics, a bit of Facebook AdSense running for you, that is a prerequisite for traffic on the website, leading to the conversation that's going to happen. So, very important point, for you to be ready to it. And if you have already done that, then I think you are ready to take to the next level. So, Imran, advice to the fence sitters, you have been already, in the technology bandwagon, you have been always very forward, right? So people who are sitting in places at homes and they have pressure of filling those seats and they have traffic and they are just picking up the call and calling all of them, right? The whole conventional way, what will be the best wisdom advice that you will give them?
I think if you had to choose, see what happens is, Abhishek, that data comes in from various places. First advice that I would like to give them is collect data in a central plate where you can actually see every side where your data is coming in. You can actually see on a single screen how much, when, and where does it come from. That's the first one. So I would advise that if you have a system, if you have a CRM or something, then first thing is that you deploy one so that you can analyze how much is it that you need to work on. Second, what you need to do is that if you've got 100 leads already in your system in the first 1 day, 1 hour, and whatever that speed could be, whatever, which is the first call that you want to make.
Brilliant.
If there is an identification that can happen, that out of the 100, if you had to choose that you had to make only 10 calls, because the conversion of data is, it varies from institute to institute, discipline to discipline. For me it might be 5%, for somebody else it might be 2%. So if that percentage is what you actually want to see, and if that is the number that you want to call, and not waste time on 95 calls and only call those 5 calls and save time, analyze what is the mechanism. Are you going to send out an emailer? If you send out an emailer, are you seeing has the person opened that emailer? Get the report. If that person has opened that emailer, has he clicked on something? If he's clicked on something, has he left something again behind for you to contact? There are various things. Now what, Abhishek, what the demo that I saw the other day, where you put a little bit of a gamification on the lead, right? So how hot the lead is, because these terms could vary, right? Somebody could say hot, somebody could say something else, but hot, cold, warm is basic what goes out in the industry. So the moment you can actually start calling, leave your cold leads aside and identify who your warm and hot are, spend more time on hot, spend lesser time on warm, so that you can have another call, and try to see where to take them now from there on. Because if they're already hot in your system and they've not moved in your funnel, then there's a problem. If they're cold and you're wasting time on calling them, then there's a bigger problem. If they're warm and you're not doing anything with them, not making them hot and then putting them in the funnel to convert, then then there's a big one. So I think like what they say, data is where the game is right now. Big data is what they say, but I think what we actually need to understand, and all you guys who are actually in the admissions, counseling, marketing, or outreach teams, it is very important for y'all to not get confused between these jargons, which is big data, real data, actionable data. See what is workable data.
Correct.
Because if you have to make 10 calls in a day or 10 calls in an hour, whatever your daily targets or whatever your your team targets are, make sure you're making those calls to the right people, because you're not reachable, not interested. These guys take more time than actually hot leads, because the guy who's actually not interested has wasted 5 minutes of yours to tell you that he's not interested. You rather call somebody who's actually hot out there and who has opened your email, who's answered your WhatsApps, who's actually come to your website, who's following you on Facebook or Instagram. If you can get all this information, then start making calls. So informative decision is very important in today's game, because you don't have time to waste, because data is coming in huge numbers. Once you start a campaign on Google, Facebook, or wherever, you'll start getting data, but all that data is crap actually. So you work on data which is actually good data. So start analyzing. I think that tool, Abhishek, which we saw the other day, is the game changer. Especially for me, is a game changer, because if I had to make a call to 5 people and if I could see that somebody is very hot versus somebody else, I would actually call that hot guy, right?
Right, absolutely. So
I just want to add one point, Abhi, sorry, just a one point. So particularly education and this, which has admission process and all, there is an off season, and it's a seasonal thing, right? I mean, during April, May, June and all. So any experiment, anything that you are thinking you want to try, you should try it during the off season to see whether things are working for you, and not do it during your peak time, because then you will actually mess up this one and also the regular this thing. So usually what we do is we'll start our experimenting in August, September, October, November, so we are more relaxed and we are like ready to do a lot of learning during that time. So what I would recommend to these people is to try, if there is I mean, I don't know like how in the audience whether they have this segmentation of off season and peak season, whatever. If they have one like that, I would like them to try it during their off period, so that they can actually put a lot more effort and try to understand and see whether it works for them, so they are ready when the season is up for them. So for admission.
Absolutely. I think so. Couple of things that came from Imran's last reply was that, as Gomti ma'am mentioned, that having a website where traffic comes is the first prerequisite. And what Imran mentioned, that having a strong admission platform or CRM or whatever it is, it's the first prerequisite to making sure that you have a bifurcation between a good lead or a bad lead. And a good lead or bad lead can be further qualified by a WhatsApp or a chat and a conversation platform regarding to that, right? So I think very, very critical. And what Imran was talking about, that thing that we were discussing is our topic for our next webinar of how to use machine learning onto your leads and things. So we'll talk about in our next webinar that how prediction and machine learning can work at scale. So that's a topic for our next webinar, right? We'll talk about that. So I think with that, I think a lot of questions are coming in, and I will want to take a pause here with your permission, guys, and take some questions.
Of course.
Yeah. Nikhil?
Yeah.
So I think I'm seeing one question occurring many times about WhatsApp bot. So Nikhil, let me answer that question right away and get it out of the way. So
Sure.
guys, basically, as far as WhatsApp is concerned, there are two ways you can deal with it as of now. As Gomti mentioned, it's still in its infancy, in early stage, right? First is a WhatsApp one-on-one, where you can click a WhatsApp web and you can talk to a students one-on-one. And second is basically 2A and 2B. 2A is that you could have a WhatsApp for business, where you can have an account and people can talk to you like a business, right? And the 2B is that conversation is itself a bot, right? So there are some pre-qualified question and pre-qualified answer, and as students ask the question, you take you through a guided journey through the WhatsApp bot, and that recipe goes through, and the whole qualification happens there. And there you can share a PDF, a video, audio, an image, a brochure, a link, a website URL, and things, and that could be seamlessly captured to a CRM or a marketing automation that you're using. So that's basically WhatsApp offerings for admission and outreach. You can have one-on-one, which anybody can do. You could have a business account where you could have kind of a conversational call within the business organization, and you can have a bot with the business organization, right? So these are the three different ways of doing WhatsApp bot. WhatsApp leveraging WhatsApp one-on-one, WhatsApp business, and WhatsApp business API for bots. So these are the three things. Kumti, I got it right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm doing my job well then. Okay. So I think, Nikhil, let's take more questions.
Yeah. So there's one question regarding how do you figure which is a hot lead and which is not before a counselor has spoken to him or her?
Okay. I mean, it's a common question. Imran, would you want to take that?
I'll take that. Yeah. So who is this? Who's asking this question?
Chetan.
Sorry.
Chetan.
Chetan, hi. Thank you for joining in, and it's quite a relevant question, and I'm glad that this question came in because this is one question where no matter who is talking to you or no matter whom you're listening to, I don't think you can actually see and tell. There is no mechanism or there is no I in the world who can actually tell you that this lead is hot and this lead is not hot unless there is some conversation. What you could do is you can actually figure out or anticipate, try this out, because there are ways to understand. As soon as you get a lead, it is important for everybody to call that lead, because if you haven't called him in the first 5 minutes or first 3 minutes, that lead is a waste. It's going to be redundant into the system. So make sure that all leads, no matter whether they're hot, cold, warm, whatever it is, they're called at least once as soon as you receive them, because that is your duty, or that is the organization's duty. Because if somebody's come all the way clicking on your ad, and you spend money, right? You spend money to get that lead, so you might as well call that lead. First thing you do is you call that lead. First call might give you an indication that whether he's interested, not interested, whether he wants more information, whether it's a good time to talk or no. Second, what you could do is all the leads actually get automated actionable emailers through systems. I don't know what system you're using, but I'm using Extra Edge, and this happens automatically. That as soon as a lead comes in, even before my caller has actually picked up the phone and called, there is an email that has gone to that person. Through that email, I get information whether it is it is delivered, it is opened, what has happened, and then a series of conversation can happen, because I know if the mail is open, what I have to do with him, and I know if the mail is not open, what I have to do with him. If the mail is open, I send him something. If my mail is not open, I send him something else. These are some triggers that you could actually plug into your system, and you could analyze whether this guy is even interacting with your stuff which you're sending him or no. The moment there is interaction, you figure that there is some interest. If there is interaction and if there is interest and if there's a call that supports it, that means it's a game changer. It's a winning call for you. So through emailers, through conversation, through length of conversation, if you can monitor, through notes that you can make in the system, whether it's relevant, not relevant, whether he made sense on the conversation, whether he's even eligible, whether he's whether he fits the criteria of your program. If you can make all those notes, and then it always comes back, now with Extra Edge, the predictive, it always comes back on top. So it always brings more hotter leads on top and colder leads. So the segregation is quite clear. So if you can deploy systems like these and then analyze it better, if not, there is no shortcut to that call that you will make. If you don't have a system, there is no shortcut. There's no guru, there's no marketing genius, there's no AI algorithm that somebody can write and tell you that a number that you get through a lead is hot or cold. There is nobody who can tell that till the time you don't do these practices.
Yeah. Absolutely. Old things, old calling works. It has to be done along with the intelligence.
It has to be done because you spend close to 100 rupees, and at times close to 1,000 rupees also to get that lead, right? Because sometimes campaigns really get exhausted with money. If you've spent that money and if you got the lead, then you might as well call it. You have to call. You have to make sure that every lead has been called in the first 2 minutes. Otherwise, it's a wasted lead.
Absolutely. So, Gomti, a question for you. I think Piyush has asked a couple of times. How we replace, or should we replace, landing pages with WhatsApp bots for lead conversion?
No, we should not replace landing pages with bot. We should add. I mean, it is like enhancing the landing pages. Basically, if people see the landing page and if they have any doubts or queries, that's when they actually like chat with you to understand more information. So you can never replace a landing page. You can add it to the landing page to improve the leads coming in and for the conversions.
Right. So I think I'll add to it. So basically, Piyush, the point is that uh, a WhatsApp can become a conversation tied to a landing page, where landing page gives you more context about a particular. So the idea of having a landing page is to convey one message for maybe a one course. That's why landing pages are created, because they're generally tied with a Google advert, and they you land via clicking on that conversion to a particular course page, and then you can have a WhatsApp bot or a chat bot fulfilling the answer for that particular course. So that's the best way of doing it. I think one question around I see that which is linked to that is WhatsApp bots English along with Hindi words. Will the chat be able to decipher the change in language? I think Gomti, would you want to take that? Change in language, WhatsApp.
Right now, see, we don't do change in language. We only communicate in English because our audience are all, I mean, will communicate in English only. And people who want to talk to us in Hindi or this thing, they won't use a chat bot at all. They will just call us and talk to us. So in that way, I mean, I don't think I'll be able to justify if I answer that question. Yeah.
I will just add my 2 cents. So basically, you should not you should there's a word called priming, right? You should huh? Yeah, you should prime your student. So what it means is that either you have Hindi, speak in Hindi, either you have English, speak in English, because your conversation is only going to last between 30 seconds to 45 seconds. So you should not have dissonance in languages there. So maybe have one language, or maybe the belt where students are coming from, and stick to it is would be my advice. Or you could probably bifurcate at the top. Do you want to speak in Hindi or English? And your flow then is Hindi, or flow is in English. That's a good way of doing it. So I think Nikhil, any more ones?
Yeah, before we get into the next question, Abhishek would request you to run the poll.
Okay, guys. So basically, I'm ending the first poll. So guys, before we wrap up, there is another poll. You can just reply to it. It allows us to make this panel sessions more fruitful and useful to it. So so I'm just launching that poll. Yeah. So let Nikhil, while the poll is being answered,
Yeah.
let's take more questions. You guys, kindly do answer the poll before you leave. Yeah.
Yeah, so there is one question from Kalpana. So I think this is directed to you, Abhishek. How expensive are these bots?
I think they are not as expensive as an opportunity of missing a lead from which marketing money has already been spent. Let me put it right. So Imran said that people spend between 100 rupees to 1,000 rupees on a lead. So its marketing money already has gone down the drain, right? So suppose you are generating 1,000 odd leads, and say on a median you spend 200 rupees per lead. You have already spent 20,000 rupees, right? So I think the answer to that question, Kalpana, is that Kalpana, right, Nikhil?
Yeah.
Kalpana, is that it's not as expensive as you would think it to be, right? I think it's a function of your marketing budget and things. So if you probably have a marketing budget of say 50 lakh rupees, right? Then probably you are trying to save and get a conversion of probably around 3 crores. So from that viewpoint of maths, it's a very minute budget allocation in your whole marketing budget to it, right?
I think Abhishek, the question here is that what is the value of the lead?
Yeah.
Because if you could put a value to the lead, then you could put a cost to the technology. If you cannot put a value to the lead, then I don't think you're supposed to put a cost to technology also, because it's perception.
Yeah,
it's completely perception.
Absolutely. So guys, we'll keep on taking questions. Before you wrap up, kindly take the poll, answer the poll while we take more questions. That will really help us. Yeah, Nikhil, next.
Yeah. So how are you keeping your employees motivated to work more even at odd hours, considering that you may not be able to offer huge cash incentives?
Oh, yeah, I think, I will leave any one of you to answer that question. So.
Gomti, you want to go for it? I can keep talking about this because I do this for a living.
I think it's a separate session, right? So I will let him go all ballistic out it. So probably Gomti, you will answer that question.
Yeah, so for us, we are giving a lot of incentives to people. So the particularly like sales team and the marketing team, because they thrive on incentives. So so we have a definite timing, but it also like if they finish of so many sales, if they complete so many sales, they get so much incentive. So they are like as motivated. So if you remove the incentive and just only giving them salaries, then that would be a different thing. And also like see what I would generally tell my team is like we are we are more than an educationist. We are trying to help a child decide the future, and also so that actually motivates them to actually decide, help them. So they think, I also tell them like they are like doctors, so they have to first analyze what the problem is and give the right medicine to the patient, otherwise it's going to be very critical, right? So that's what they think of themselves. They don't think themselves as a telesalesperson who is trying to sell some product. Okay, so they're trying to help the student do better in their life. So most of my people in my team, they are very proud of what they are doing. I think that kind of that kind of thing, that if you instill in your employees, I don't think they will worry about the timings. I mean, that I would say. Yeah.
Imran, I'll give you 1 minute to answer that.
Yeah, it's very important. It's very important for your employees actually to feel the sense of belonging to the institution. If if they feel that they're employees, then you need to keep them motivated. But if they start feeling that this is their organization, their growth is dependent on organizational growth, then I think the battle is over there. Because also we've done some drastic steps in this tough time when people were actually firing people were actually asking people to go. We went out and gave advance salaries. We never delayed any payment. We sent out tables, chairs, so that people could work comfortably at home. We made sure that in spite of them saving money on commute, where the money has been saved, or eating, we made sure that we have given them internet connections. We made sure that systems were given to them to work from wherever. We made sure that each one of them is completely equipped and felt that there's somebody who's taking care of them on a one-to-one level. See, what do people need? People need love, right? People need love. Money is a byproduct. Everybody is working, agreed that everybody wants money, but if you can actually love your people, and we really love our people, and at the same time, if you can work as a leader, if you are actually leading a team, and if you can work at odd hours, then I don't think the team by itself looks at you, to start working, because they look up to you. So do it by action. I don't think there's anything else. Do it by action, and the team follows. I mean, my team is up till 2:00 in the morning doing stuff because I'm up till 2:00 in the morning. So if I would be sleeping, I cannot expect this from my team then. So it's a very different expectation also. So we love our people. We care for our people in all sense: monetary, emotional, family care, whatever it takes, because these are our prime assets. This is where the investment is.
Sure. So Imran, there is a question, called from Kalpana, that how well are chatbots received by this generation?
To be honest with you, this generation is a very fast-moving generation. You cannot actually predict anything that is going to happen and it's going to stay with them for the next 6 months also. There has already been a transformation that we've already started seeing from it's very obvious. You're right. They don't make calls. These generation, they don't like to make calls. They spend very little time on calling people. They like to spend time on text, right? Whether it is Facebook Messenger, whether it's WhatsApp Messenger, or whatever form. Now what we're seeing is that text is also getting out, and a lot of speech is coming in. So so with Siri, Alexa, and all these girls who are living in your houses right now, they've taken over. So people are communicating more with voice right now. They like and also what it does is it breaks the language barrier also, because when you're typing, you still have a language that you're typing in, because of the text might be the language might be Hindi, but the text is still English, for example. But when you're speaking, and voice is actually coming over, voice, I see that next season when we sit, and Abhishek, when you're going to do this, I think we might just have a conversation about how voice-based, speech-based things are taking over.
Right.
So wait for it. It's evolving.
Right. Absolutely. So I think one of the ones that I'm getting for you, Gomti, is that how can we use WhatsApp to connect to numerous customers and users out there without pissing them off, unlike regular promotional SMSs that people keep receiving and hate it?
Yeah, if I mean, you have a lot of things that are available in the market, but usually the WhatsApp team does not approve that. So with the approved API, you cannot actually send WhatsApp messages to numerous people whom you don't know. So if they come to your website, they have to actually opt in for the messages that they can actually, they want to receive WhatsApp messages. Then you can actually send them messages. But without that, if you buy something from the market, take some databases or some numbers, and then you try to actually send messages, that actually won't work.
Great, great. Nikhil, do we have more questions? I'm seeing a lot of questions here and there. But do you think?
Yeah. So just let me check.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, this question is regarding Extra Edge. So does Extra Edge plan to come up with an auto call feature? We use Super Receptionist, which has that feature, but it's an expensive affair.
Yeah, yeah. So I think yes, we do have a feature which can complement your auto dialing capabilities. So somebody from the team will reach out to you and and talk about it. Chetan. No problem.
Yeah.
Let's move to more chat related questions. Nikhil.
Yeah. So there's one question: how to attract students using website, and how I can update this chatbot in our website.
Okay, so the question is for you, Imran, that how do we integrate with the website and how easily it's integratable with the website and how do we do that? The answer is obvious, but you can.
It's not very difficult. I think it's a few clicks and you might just be there. It's about I would say half a day of work. If you've got some right people in your team, it's about half a day of work plus another half a day of testing, and you're there. What is more important is not the installation. The more important part is what do you do after the installation. So so if you have it on your website, you make sure that there is somebody sitting back there, and if it's a bot, it's a different thing. But if it's a live chat, then you make sure that if there is a customer who's come to your website, put a message on your WhatsApp, integrated button over there, and doesn't get a reply, that means he's not coming back ever to you. So what is important is not when you install. What is important is what do you do after installation. So you make sure that there is somebody who's sitting there waiting for a buzz to come, or waiting for a question to come, and then you take over that conversation. But it's not very difficult. I mean, somebody who's very little on technology or very little savvy with technology can also integrate it. It's not too difficult. There are very nice step guides available. There are partners who do it for you, and you can do it. There's no problem whatsoever.
I just want to add the first part of the question, I think, was how to attract a lot more customers into the website, right? So I don't know who.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
I missed that,
so somebody, I don't know who that person
Yeah.
is. So see, I think you have to decide who's your decision maker. See, in our case, the student are the user, but the parents are the decision makers. So what happens is, most of the time when you put out videos which is basically about physics or chemistry or an experiment video, you attract a lot of students into your website, but it is not useful for conversions because students are the one who are not the decision makers, right? So you have to have a balance between number of people. Like, you need to student also to come in because they should be excited about learning from this institute. At the same time, you should also get the decision makers to come into your landing pages, like wherever you want them to actually buy the product. So you should have the balance between these two. So you have to have a clear distinction between who is your decision maker. And sometimes if it is a college thing that you're doing, like, the students itself is enough for them to actually decide. But particularly in our case, we need to have students also coming into our landing page, as well as the parents, equally the parents. And sometimes it is more parents than the students, because the decision maker has to be convinced about your organization and convinced about the product that they are planning to buy for the student. So you have to take care of that part.
Great. I think I'm getting signals from Nikhil to stop now.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think it was fantastic. I think thank you, Gomti and Imran, for taking out time to come. And I really thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I hope you two enjoyed this conversation,
Yeah.
right?
So we had it was good one. Yeah, it was a good one. Quite interesting. Gomti, thank you for the insights. Was very very helpful.
Yeah, same Imran here. So
As-
same here.
As an audience, thank you for the session.
Thank you so much for everyone.
I
Yeah.
can tell you, Imran, that they are one of the most, I think, digitally driven edtech companies.
I saw the website. I saw the work that is
Okay.
happening.
Thank you.
It's very impressive.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
so guys, thank you very much. There is a poll. Poll will help us to curate the outcomes of the session and the next session forward to it. This is Rethink. It's a initiative to bring people like Imran and Gomti to tell you about what's happening in technology and how it's impacting admissions. So we try to do that from Extra Edge, without any interior motive, and we'll keep on doing so. Our next session is upcoming. Do please join in, and thank you very much, guys, for taking your time. And I wish you are safe wherever you are, and take care in Chennai and Bombay. Okay.
Thank you so much. It was lovely. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.